Lasker, lecture number 3. Gentlemen, though we have established in our last lecture a line of play which will yield a good defense to the usual form of the Roy Lopez, we may nevertheless look at others well worth noticing. Truth derives its strength not so much from itself as from the brilliant contrast it makes with what is only apparently true. This applies especially to chess, where it is often found that the profoundest moves do not much startle the imagination. A defense which is frequently played is initiated in the third move by advancing the queen-rook pawn against our bishop. I need not dwell on the point that this move is against the principles of our first lecture, just as much as knight to king bishop 3 is in accordance with them. Neither does it, I believe, lead to an even game, an opinion which I shall attempt to substantiate in the following variations. Pawn king 4, pawn king 4, knight king bishop 3, knight queen bishop 3, bishop queen knight 5, pawn queen rook 3. White has now the option to exchange his bishop against the adverse knight or to retreat it. As a general rule, it is not good policy to exchange in the early stages of a game the long-reaching bishop against the knight, whose power does not extend beyond a certain circle. Therefore, bishop queen rook 4, knight king bishop 3. Now, another move which would be weaker would be pawn queen 3. This is not recommended on account of pawn queen 4, bishop queen 2, pawn bishop 3, pawn bishop 4, king pawn takes pawn, pawn knight 5, knight knight 5, with an all-round healthy position for white. We return to black's fourth move of knight f6. White castles. Now both knight bishop 3 or pawn queen 3 would yield white a good game. His chances of success are, however, greatly increased if he adopts a more dashing form of attack. Black's fifth move, knight takes pawn. Black cannot well refuse the acceptance of the momentary sacrifice, as otherwise white will obtain a wonderful position by pawn queen 4, followed by pawn king 5, etc. 6. Pawn queen 4. Pawn queen knight 4. Bishop knight 3. Pawn queen 4. Black would be rather venturesome to take the queen pawn, because white could continue with rook to the king square and molest the black king knight, in fact finally win it. Pawn takes pawn, bishop king 3, pawn queen bishop 3. White's last move is an exception to the rule we have hereto followed, to develop as quickly as possible. The game has assumed already a character of its own, which in consequence adds to the importance of some pieces in preference to others. Our king-bishop is destined to serve as the backbone of our attack against the black king, in the moment which must soon arrive that he castles on the king side. We therefore preserve it against the possible attack of the black knights, which are driven into exposed points. King-bishop, bishop 4. King 2 would have also been a favorable spot for the bishop, but it seems necessary to reserve the point for the queen knight. Moreover, there is a certain want of protection on the queen side, for which you provide by putting the bishop onto the rear of your pawns. No fault is now to be found with black's development, all his pieces being well in play, but his pawn position on the queen side is compromised. How white will take advantage of that weakness, the following will explain. Knight to queen 2, black castles. Bishop to bishop 2. The position becomes now very instructive. Whether the twice-attacked knight is removed, exchanged, or guarded, in each case white obtains a splendid game. Variation A. Knight, knight 4, knight takes knight, queen takes knight, knight, king 4, double attacking the queen, queen to king 2, knight takes bishop, queen takes knight, bishop to king 3, queen to king 2, and pawn, king, bishop 4. Sooner or later threatening pawn, bishop 5 with a beautiful position.